So with this being actually my first video, I'm gonna start off, it might not be as long as I want it to be. It may be pretty short actually, as I have no idea what I'm doing. So, this first video is gonna be, what if Takemichi was strong? So, I'm gonna make him not stronger than Mikey, but stronger than like Draken and Izana. So he's like up there, right? So he's like the second strongest in Tokyo Revengers. Um, yeah. So that's probably what I'm gonna start this off with. So we're gonna start off with Takemichi in bed. He's just gonna be in bed. This is gonna be in like way earlier, so there's not gonna be any time leaping in the story. Takemichi is going to be very young. He's gonna be. What should I start him off with? I'll start him off. He's gonna be like. We'll say he's 13, right? So we'll start off 2 years before. Or is it 1 year? A year or two. I'll just say a year before everything. Nah, I'll make him 8. I'll make him 8 years old, right? We're just gonna say he's like a long-term friend of Mikey's, right? So we're just gonna say he's 8 years old. Mikey found him while he was being beaten up by some delinquents, right? While Takemichi's getting beaten up by delinquents, Shinichiro and Mikey ride by on Shinichiro's bike, and Shinichiro sees this, and so does Mikey. So Shinichiro goes and helps Takemichi, right? He beats up the delinquents and all of them. And while he's beating up the delinquents, Takemichi's just staring at Shinichiro in awe because he really wants to be as strong as him. So he's just staring at him, right? While he's staring at Shinichiro, Mikey walks over to him and is like helping him up, like beating up some of the other guys that are trying to rush Mikey. While Shinichiro and Mikey are taking care of him, Takemichi is just stuck. He won't move. His body won't move, right? So we're just gonna say that he's like starstruck by just the strength of Mikey and Shinichiro. So after that's all taken care of, Mikey introduces himself, and Shinichiro does as well. And Mikey not Mikey, but Takemichi looks up to Shinichiro as like a role model. Like he wants to be as strong as him and as brave as him, you know? So we're gonna skip forward about like a week. So Takemichi had been taking martial arts with Mikey, Baji, and Shinichiro was there as well. I think that's everyone that was there normally. Takemichi was there now though, and Mikey's grandpa, he saw potential in Takemichi, so he wanted to bring that out as much as possible. And in the first few sparring matches, obviously he didn't do very well, but he started to learn very quickly. So after all that happened, he started to show a lot of promise and potential, like I said earlier. And we'll skip forward, like, say, a year. So, a year from at the time Takemichi was taking martial arts classes, Takemichi, Mikey, Baji, Draken, Mitsuya, Kazutora, and Pachin, right? Pa. That's all I'll call him. And then they became really good friends, right? And then later on became the founders of Tomen. So Mikey and Takemichi were like really close, but like not as close as Mikey and Baji or like the rest of the founders, because like they hadn't known them each other that long. It had only been like a year since they had met, but they were still pretty close, relative to like a normal friendship. So Takemichi is sitting there. We'll say someone was trying to beat up someone else. It's like some random girl, right? So Takemichi saw this, and he decided that he was going to help her. So when he went to go help her, he ran up to the guys. Like, these were like full grown adults, right? And this girl was like, she was in her teens, right? Just say she was in her teens. Takemichi saw this, and he went to go help her and like beat up the guys, right? So while he was rushing the guys, they saw Takemichi rushing towards them, and they were like, "Oh, it's just some kid, like who would overestimate a kid, right?" Because like we'll just say he's not that tall, right? He's like I'll make him kind of tall, He's like 14, so I'll make him, or no, he's 9, so I'll make him like 5'6", right? So he's tall for his age. I think that's tall for 9. Like 5'6", 5'8", something like that. I don't know. But we'll just say he's that. He's like that. So after Takemichi went and helped the girl, right? So he went and helped the girl, and then the girl got up and thanked him like a whole bunch. And he kind of helped her and went on his way, but someone saw that he helped this girl, right, and wanted him in his gang, right? I'm not gonna say who it is yet, but I might later on. So this person who had seen Takemichi do this went to their boss, right? And they told him everything, right? And that's all I'm going to leave with that. And then Takemichi, he went on his way. He went up and met with Tomen's founders, right? Because they were trying to find people who were willing to join their gang. Takemichi ended up finding someone who was willing to join Tomen, right? And this person is going to be... Let me think about this for a second, right? This person is going to be... Who do I want this person to be, actually? This is like... kinda... This might actually have repercussions on the story if I don't get this right, We'll see. I'll just say Sanzu. Alright, so Takemichi found Sanzu. Let's just say he wasn't friends with Mikey in his childhood, like in canon. So we'll just say he wasn't friends with Mikey, and he's actually a decently good student, so nobody would really expect it. So Sanzu is actually willing to join Tomen, right, as one of the founders. But little does he know that he's actually one of like the first members, and they have like basically nobody in there so far. So it's at that point it was basically just Mikey, Takemichi, Draken, Pa, Mitsuya, um, Baji, and Kazutora. It was just those seven, like like Toman seven. That's what I'm gonna call him, Toman seven. And that was the only members that they had was those seven. So Sanzu joining, finding out that he was actually the eighth member, he was kind of shocked, because he had no idea, like um, who all was who. So let's just say Takemichi introduced him to like Baji, Pa, the Toman Seven, basically. He introduced them to them all. And Mikey like instantly took a liking to Sanzu, right? Because he was like, he seems very attentive, right? But he's actually like kind of brutal. So Mikey instantly took a liking to Sanzu, and they started to like hang out a bunch, right? Now I'm gonna add Kiseki to this story so I can get, you know, so I can get some revenge stuff going on, because kind of liking this. So let's just say we'll skip forward to say they're the canon age now, right? So they're at their canon ages, and we'll just say that Takemichi and Mikey and them, they don't really talk as much as they used to, because Takemichi kind of pulled himself away from everybody, and we'll figure this out why later. He pulled himself away from everybody, and Kazutora did kill Shinichiro. Kazutora did kill Shinichiro, which is part of the reasons why, which like I was trying to say, part of the reason why Takemichi kind of drew himself away from everybody, because he didn't want to like burden everybody else with his own problems and his own sadness. So he pulled himself away from everybody he knew, like Mikey, like everyone, Toman Seven, everybody that he held close, right? So Takemichi is dating Hina, right? And he's like, he doesn't even talk to her either. And Takemichi was called to one of the Toman's meetings where they were going to announce the new, or the, I think it's, ooh, which one was it again? Third Division Vice Captain? I think that's what Kiseki's in. I think he's Third Division Vice Captain. And we'll just say Takemichi immediately recognizes him, right? He's like, that's the kid from my school that I know. I recognize him, right? He's always hanging around Hina. So he's like kind of confused, but he's like not really sure like what he should do. So just kind of like looking around, he's like, is this kind of like a joke, or like, this dude looks weak, he's small, scrawny. And Kiseki, he immediately notices him, and he sends him a glare, right? He shoots him like a really nasty glare, and he's like, what did I do? In his head, he's like kind of, Takemichi's kind of like confused, because he's like, I don't know what I did. So after he figured out who he remembered Kiseki, he was talking to Mikey, He was kind of like not really talking very much. He was like saying a few words like here and there. Mikey was kind of happy, you know. He was happy that Takemichi was talking to him, but he was like kind of sad at the same time because he had heard something from Kisaki that made him kind of sad. You know, he was like, I really hope this isn't true, but I have no idea how to check. You know, so while Kisaki's all doing his glaring stuff, Takemichi's like, isn't that the guy that Hina told me about? Because like, dude tried to get Hina to marry him. I don't remember if this was post time skip or pre time skip. I'm just gonna make it pre time skip. So he walked up to Hina and he was like, marry me. And she was like, nah, bro, I'm good. And Kisaki's mad, and he's blaming Takemichi because she's dating Takemichi. So he's blaming Takemichi for this. And he remembers that, we'll just say that Hina told him about, what Kisaki did and said, right? So we'll say Takemichi knows this guy, and he's like, oh, okay, well, this is this dude. He's like, I don't think he'll get in my way, but I'm hoping he doesn't, but he might. So he's kind of like, alright, yeah. Okay. And then Mikey calls up everybody. He's like, he calls for their attention. And then he calls Kisaki up to the stage area where Mikey stands. So Mikey and Jackie, he said, come up. Mikey said, told Kisaki to come up, right, to the stage area. And Kisaki walked up, and he said to everyone that Kisaki was the new, he said Kisaki was the new 3rd Division Vice Captain. I still think that that's what his thing is. But they say he's the 3rd Division Vice Captain. So everyone's like cheering and stuff. And then Mikey tells them all to stop cheering. Like in the most serious voice you could possibly think of Mikey to say this in. And he says to everyone that there's a traitor among them, right? So everyone's really confused, including Takemichi. He's really confused. He's like, what? This doesn't make sense. Because he made sure that nobody would betray Tomen unless it was somebody who was never with Tomen in the first place and was always with the other one. Always with another gang. And then Mikey says to everyone that the traitor is Takemichi. Now, with Mikey saying this, Takemichi is incredibly confused, right? He's just extremely confused. Baji as well, because Baji, he's been, known for a long time. He already knows Kisaki's plan, and when Kisaki was explaining everything to Mikey. So he already knows all this. So he already doesn't like Kisaki. And then Mikey says something that makes Baji hate Kisaki, like, 100%. He says that Kisaki was the one who told him that Takemichi was the traitor. Because he saw him giving information out to a different gang called Mobius, right? So they're all very confused. Like, it's one of Toman's, like, top guys. Like, why would he do this? Takemichi's also confused. He's trying to convince everyone that he isn't, a traitor. And Baji knows he's not a traitor. And so does Chifuyu, right? Because Baji told Chifuyu about Kiseki and that stuff. Let's just say he told he told Chifuyu about all that stuff. About Kiseki and Mikey and all that stuff. So Chifuyu and Baji know that he's not a traitor, right? And Kiseki's trying to set something up. But, like, the gang is, like, constantly, like trying to get Takemichi kicked out because they all believe that he's a traitor. Well, Takemichi's trying to convince them that he's not, while Baji and Chifuyu are also trying to convince people. So they're all, like, really mad and really, like, just really pissed off, right? So they're all trying to get him out, and in the end, it works, right? They beat him up a little bit. He defends himself for a little bit, but then Mikey comes up and he starts beating him up too. So Takemichi feels extremely betrayed, while Kiseki was standing back and just smirking the entire time with, like, the most sinister smirk ever. Because, like, who actually, like, likes Kiseki? He's, like, evil. But, like, Kiseki's just standing back, smirking, like, the most evilly a person can smirk. While he's doing this, Takemichi's getting beat up, and Takemichi sees him smirking, and he immediately hates Kiseki with every fiber of his being. And in his head, he's like, I'm going to kill this man as soon as I can. So that's now Takemichi's goal, is to kill Kiseki. So he already feels betrayed, and he is hating this one person with every fiber of his being. So he's walking home, and he has to walk by Hina's place, right? So he's walking towards Hina's place as he's walking home, and he's like, maybe I should stop by Hina's place. Maybe she's awake and I can, like, get maybe a little bit happier, just talk to her about my issues and stuff. So that's what he does. He goes to Hina's place and he goes to talk to her about, like, what happened to him. And as he knocks on the door, and Hina's little brother, Naoto, I'm sure everybody knows him if you've watched the show or read the manga, if anything. Hina's little brother, Naoto, opens the door and is shocked to see Takemichi, because he was told by Hina that they had broken up, right? Because, like, Naoto kind of, like, enjoyed Takemichi's company as a kid. We'll just say that. And then Naoto was, like, a little bit sad, because, like, his friend was, like not gonna come back. But he was really shocked to see that Takemichi was there, and then Takemichi asked where Hina was. Naoto obviously told him she's in her room. Takemichi goes over there to see one of the most heartbreaking sights that anyone in his shoes could see. The one man he hates the most, Kiseki, kissing his girlfriend Hina. She cheated on him with Kiseki. And he sees this, and he's just so incredibly heartbroken. Like, he loses, like, half his emotions. Like, the only emotions he feels anymore are just sadness and anger. He is just, like, he is the almost optimal tool that anyone could use to fight somebody now, because he only feels anger and sadness. If his sadness was gone, bro, he would be unstoppable. But I'm not gonna remove it because he kind of needs it still. So, after everything that happened, he waits for Kiseki to leave. And once Kiseki leaves, he knocks on Hina's door, right, to her room. Because they had no idea that he was in there. Just Naoto didn't tell anyone. He was like, why would he? He was just minding his own business in the first place, so. So Takemichi knocks on Hina's door, and she assumes it's Kiseki, right? So she opens it up, like, almost immediately. And then she sees Takemichi, and she's like, oh, hi. Like, she's just being really suspicious and stuff, you know? I'm not really good with dialogue, so just kind of try to bear with me, please. So, she sees Takemichi, and she's just acting really suspicious, you know? And Takemichi just goes straight to it. He just asks, how long have you been cheating on me, right? And she's, like, taken aback. She's shocked by the question, right? So, out of nowhere, she's like, what are you talking about? She's, like, trying to deny it, like, you know, what most cheating people do. They try to deny it until they can't anymore, right? And then Takemichi just hits her with the full-blown proof, and he's like, I took this picture of you and Kiseki. Tell me, how long have you been cheating on me for? And she's just, her whole mood switched up, dude. She became extremely mad and started blaming him for everything. It's like, it's your fault that you weren't, like, checking up on me or just or just visiting me. Because it's like she had no idea what he was doing. And while he wasn't talking to anyone very much after Shinichiro died, he was kind of just, like, at home, you know, kind of depressed because, like, you know, his idol, the person he looks up to the most, had, like, literally died. And we'll say Shinichiro died a little later than canon, you know, so he was, like, Takemichi was, like, it was, like, a year before, canon timelines, you know? So we'll just say, like, literally a year ago, Shinichiro died in this timeline. So Takemichi was obviously very new to the feeling of sadness, of loss, you know, of his idol that he was very, very close to, that he wanted to be like, you know. So immediately he is just, like, emotionless while talking to Hina, and she doesn't notice this because she's just blinded by anger because of how he wasn't talking to her, like, at all. And she just he literally just, he zoned her out and just walked off. He walked away. He walked out. And she was just still yelling at him while he was leaving. And then he gets out and he goes home, right? And he lives home alone. He doesn't live with anyone because his parents, like, they abandoned him when he was young. He didn't know his parents, and he doesn't have siblings. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't figured this out yet. But he's kind of just, his hair, like, he does, like, he decides to, he wants to change his whole look, right? He's like, I want to change my whole look. I don't want to look like how I look anymore. So he decides, and out of randoms, he's just gonna change his whole look. And he does that. He does just that. He changes his hair to, like, a black color, like in the left picture on the screen. And he just, from then on, he was doing whatever he wanted. He didn't care anymore. So he stopped doing, like, basic stuff. Like, he stopped taking care of himself, really. And then because he was just so incredibly sad and heartbroken and depressed that nothing really was going on good in his life, you know. So, one day, Baji and Chifuyu come over to his house to like go check on him. They knock on the door multiple times. They check around his house. Like he's just, they assume he's not home. He is. He's just in bed. He doesn't want to go and open the door. So they did this multiple times over like the week that he had been kicked out from Tomen, and he had only opened the door like once or twice. We'll just say he opened it like twice, and he didn't look very good to them. Like he had eye bags. He looked like very skinny. Like he wasn't taking care of himself like at all. And they could like see his like living room when he opened the door, and it was just horrible. Like it was all messy, and he did not look good at all, or the state he was in was not good. So they like Mikey, not Mikey, but Baji and Shifuyu tried very much to go and check on him as much as possible to make sure he's okay. But one day the day that Takemichi didn't open the door, the last one, they were just like, you know what, let's just go in. Like it doesn't matter. Like we can just pay for the door later. Let's just break the door. Let's just go in, because they were worried about him. Like he hadn't opened the door in like weeks, so they were like, all right, let's just break the door. At least that's what Baji said. He was trying to talk him out of it. He was like, no, don't do that. It's like not a good idea. But they ended up doing it anyway. Or Baji did, at least. He didn't really listen to Chifuya. He just told him to shut up and did it. So, and when they got in, they saw how bad of like a mess the house was in, and Takemichi just he heard the door break, and he didn't get up. He didn't care. So they opened up his bedroom door after they searched the house for him. No, they found out that he lived alone like a while ago, like when he was like a kid. So they weren't really looking for anybody except him, so they knew that they could just like sweep the house. So that's what they did. They looked through all the doors and houses and stuff because they had never been to his house. So they had looked around and stuff, and then they eventually found his obviously the last door, his bedroom. And then they opened that door, and they saw Takemichi in there, and he was laying in bed, lights off. It was just silence. He was doing nothing. He was just laying in bed, awake. He wasn't sleeping. He was awake. He was just laying in bed. And Chifuyu turned the lights on because they didn't see him. They couldn't see him because he was under the blankets. He turned the lights on, and like they started searching his room, and then Baji laid on his bed because they couldn't find him. They had no idea he was on his bed, so Baji just kind of laid on his bed and just laid directly on top of him. And then I don't even know where I'm going with this. Let's just say, okay, just scrap that part. We're just gonna say that they found him in his bed, right? And he was just laying there awake, and he was just they knew he wasn't doing well. So they dragged him out of bed, got him cleaned up, and they were like, "Come on, let's go get some food. I'll get you some food, right? We'll get you some food." And so Takemichi didn't really want to go. He didn't want to go out. He didn't want to agree to go anywhere. So Takemichi had like fully black hair, like in the left photo, and he looked like he didn't have any life in his eyes, like at all. It was just empty, like a dark blue, just empty color, right? And they looked incredibly empty. I'm putting the emphasis on empty because they are empty eyes. Like he does not have like any emotions in his eyes. And he's still heartbroken. He's trying to get over Hina, but he's doing it the only way he knows how. And how he got over the death of Shinichiro is he's just depressed. laying in bed. That's all he knows how to do, right? How to get over painful stuff like this. Because he had never experienced this in any time of his life before. So while he's trying to get over Hina and everything that's going on, obviously, him, Baji, or Takemichi, Baji, and Shifuya go and get food, right? They go and got food, and then, like, sometimes, like, they'll stop, like, Baji and Shifuya will stop, like they'll be in front of Takemichi, and then Takemichi will just, like, slip away, and it was very odd, because he wasn't doing that, because, like, anytime they had gone up before, he would just do that, and look for people, right, to fight randomly. So he just wasn't doing that, so they were very confused, and, like, this is just, they were just so super confused, and Takemichi was just walking with them, just not saying anything. While Baji and Shifuya were talking about other stuff, he was just walking with them, not talking at all. And then he heard fighting, and he was like, oh. Like, that was literally the first word that he had said to them, before, like at all, during this entire day. It was just the first word he said to them was, oh, after he heard the fighting. So he walked over to the fighting, and he was just looking, right? And he saw this person beating up, like, a pretty tall dudes. Like, these kids were, like really tall. Like, they were, like 6 feet tall. And this person was, like, 5'6", 5'7", maybe 5'5", like, I don't know. Really, I'm not really checking any heights from him. This person was, like, I'll say 5'6", right? So pretty small, or not as tall compared to the 6 feet tall dudes. And, like, they were all fighting, and the 5'6" person was winning. They were beating these big tall dudes, right? And Takemichi, he didn't notice. He was just staring. He didn't notice anything about the person who was winning. He was just watching. And after it all ended, the person who was winning was actually Senju. So Takemichi doesn't know Senju. He doesn't know that Sanzu has a family, right? So Senju is just, like, completely a stranger to him. So he sees this person, and he assumes Senju is a dude, because let's just say that she's wearing Brahmin's uniform, and it just kind of makes her look like a dude to everybody in the Tokyo Revengers universe. So just say he thinks that Senju is a dude, and she walks over to Takemichi and asks him why he just stared and didn't help. And he said, it's because I don't care. And then she finally noticed that he had very empty, emotionless eyes. And she just kind of felt sorry for him. So she decided that she was gonna make sure Takemichi had fun, right? She was gonna make it her personal mission to make sure that Takemichi felt okay again and got its emotions back. Why would she make this her mission? I have no idea. I'm just trying to push the plot along. But let's just say that happened, right? So Takemichi, Senju, Baji, and Shifuya, they know that Takemichi wanders off, so they just kind of kept walking, right? They just kind of kept walking. And then they figured out that Takemichi wasn't behind him, behind them, and they were like, "Oh." And then they turned around and walked back. They had no idea when they had lost them, so they were just wandering, like, mindlessly. They had no idea where to go. So Takemichi and Senju go out, and they're just having fun. They're just doing whatever they can to, because Senju just wants Takemichi to have his emotions back for some reason, uh, and she's just trying to make Takemichi have fun. That's her main goal. And that's basically all Takemichi is thinking about, really. He's thinking about trying to like like trying to figure out who this person is, right? He figures out that she is a girl because she takes the Brahmin uniform off, like, obviously, because she can't just wear it out in public. Like, that's just kind of like, who wears a gang uniform out in public? Besides most gangs in Tokyo Revengers. But she doesn't want to wear her gang uniform out in public because she's not on her territory, because her territory is in a different city, I think. I forgot where it is. I think it's in Shinjuku. I don't know. It's somewhere, right? But we'll just say that she's wearing her normal school uniform, right? And she's just taking Takemichi on, like, oh, I forgot what chapter it is. They did this stuff, but Takemichi and Senju, like, they went on a kind of date thing in the manga, and I forgot what chapter it was. But anyway, they went on a date thing. They went on a whole bunch of roller coasters and stuff. They went shopping and all that stuff. So we'll just say that they did that, right? The entire time. They went shopping and all that stuff. So Takemichi is like, he's still sad, but he did kind of feel, I don't know how to put it. He felt kind of, he felt kind of nice. He was like, I'm actually hanging out with somebody that I enjoy hanging out with, and he's like, I don't know if I should be friends with her because he doesn't want to be betrayed like he was before, because he has, like, major trust issues now, because the person he thought he could trust, he got betrayed by, which is Mikey. And he's just incredibly sad that he doesn't want to be betrayed by another person he trusts. So he decides that he shouldn't stay friends with Senju, but Senju wouldn't accept that, so she just stayed being friends with Takemichi anyway. And Takemichi was just trying to figure out why Senju wanted to make him get his emotions back so much. And he asked her this. He asked Senju why she wanted to get his emotions back, and she just responded to him, I don't know. She just said, I don't know. And that was pretty much the entire interaction that they had about that, So Takemichi takes her back home, walks her back home, makes sure she gets home safe. And then while he's walking home, he hears someone getting, beaten up. So he's like looking around trying to find whoever is beating this person up. And then he walks in an alley and sees this tall, lanky dude, right? With, like, he's kind of spiked up black hair with a blonde strip right in the front middle. And obviously I'm talking about Hanma. He sees Hanma beating up like 3-4 different dudes, right? I'll just say like 4 different dudes. He's just beating him up. And Takemichi's just very confused. He's like, why? And then while he's watching this happen, he walks up to Hanma, and Hanma he thinks he's just another dude. So Hanma tries to punch him, and Takemichi blocks it and then punches him in the stomach, right? Because we'll just say Takemichi is like, he's like on Hanma's height level, a little bit below. So he's like a little bit shorter than Hanma. And it's just, he blocks Hanma's punch and then punches Hanma in the stomach, which like almost knocks Hanma out. And then he just punches Hanma in the face, which fully knocks him out, right? Why did he do that? I have no idea. He just did it because he wanted to. So after Takemichi knocks Hanma out, he just kind of walks off and goes home. And that's basically all he did. And I think that's where I'm going to leave this off, actually, because I don't really have anything else come to my head. So this is where I'm going to leave this first part off. I'm going to make this like a series, I guess. Yeah, I'll just make this a series, and then, yeah, alright. This is where I'm going to leave this first part off, and see you guys in the next one, the next part. Later.